Ready for a Bible story? Me too. Moses and the burning bush. This is found in Exodus chapter 3 and 4. Moses looked much different now from the young man who had lived at Pharaoh's palace. No longer did he wear princely Egyptian robes. Now he wore the coarse mantle of a shepherd. In his hand was a long shepherd's staff. Day after day and year after year, he cared for his father-in-law's sheep. During this time, the sun and the wind had tanned his face and his hands, while the years had whitened his hair. One day, Moses led his flock to a green pasture near the foot of Mount Horeb. There he saw a flame of fire spring out of a bush. He watched, expecting to see the bush become ashes. But the flame did not burn the bush. What a strange sight, thought Moses. I must take a closer look at this. As he started toward the bush, a voice called from the flame, "Moses, Moses." And Moses replied, "Here am I." "Do not come near the bush," the voice said. "Take off your shoes, for you are standing on holy ground." Moses knew at once that God was speaking to him, for it was the custom for a person to remove his shoes when approaching a sacred place. Quickly, he stooped down and unfastened his sandals. Then he hid his face, for he was afraid to look at the flame again. "I am the God of Abraham, of Isaac, and of Jacob," the voice said. "I have seen the suffering of my people, the Israelites. I have heard their cries. Now I am come to deliver them from the Egyptians and to bring them into the land that I promised their fathers." How glad Moses must have been to hear this good news. But the voice continued, "Come now, and I will send you to Pharaoh, that you may lead my people out of Egypt." Moses asked the Lord, "Who am I that I should lead my people out of Egypt? This is too big a job for me to do." "I will surely go with you and help you," answered the voice. "And when you bring the Israelites to this mountain to worship me, you will know that I have been with you." Moses said, "What if the Israelites have forgotten you? If they ask, 'Who is this God?' what shall I say?" And God said, "Tell them that my name is I Am, the one who is always living. Tell them that I Am has sent you to help them. Do not be afraid, Moses, for they will believe you. With the elders of your families, go to Pharaoh and tell him, 'Our God, the God of the Hebrews, has met with us. Now let us go 3 days' journey into the wilderness to worship him.'" Moses listened carefully. He heard God say, "At first, the king will refuse to let you go. But after I have shown my power in Egypt, he will send you out of the land." Still, Moses was afraid his people would not believe God had sent him unless he could show them some sign for proof. So he asked God to give him a sign. God said, "What is in your hand?" "It is a rod," answered Moses. "Throw it on the ground," God said. Moses obeyed. And the rod became a snake. When Moses saw the snake, he tried to get away from it. God said, "Do not be afraid. Take hold of its tail." Again, Moses obeyed, and the snake became a rod once more. Then God told Moses, "Put your hand on your chest under your cloak and bring it out again." When Moses did this, his hand was white with leprosy. How afraid he was, but God said, "Put your hand on your chest again." When Moses obeyed, his hand became normal. This sign was to prove to the Israelites and the Egyptians that God had sent Moses. If the people did not believe these signs, Moses was to take water from the river and pour it on the ground. The water would become blood. This would be the third sign. Still, Moses felt unwilling to go. He told God, "You know I can't speak well. You know I'm slow to speak." Then the Lord reminded Moses, "Am I not the Lord who made man's mouth? Go, and I will teach you what to say." Then Moses pleaded, "Oh, my Lord, send someone else." God said, "I will send your brother Aaron with you. He will speak the words you tell him. Aaron is already on his way to meet you." At last, Moses was ready to obey God. He led his flock back to Jethro, his father-in-law, and said, "Let me return to my people in Egypt and see if they're still alive." And Jethro said, "Go in peace." God spoke again to Moses, "Return to Egypt, for those who wanted to kill you are dead." Moses took his wife and his sons and started for Egypt. On the way, he met Aaron. How glad the brothers were to see each other. Moses told all that God had said, and together the two brothers returned to Egypt. When they arrived, they gathered the elders of Israel. Aaron told them that God had sent Moses to be their deliverer. When the people heard the words of the Lord and saw his signs, they believed and were glad. They bowed their heads and thanked God for hearing their prayers.